Why does evaluative research often leave teams guessing about what to do next? And what's the most effective way to evaluate concepts and prototypes? That's what we're talking about next. Hey everybody, Tim Sweeney coming to you from another bright sunny day in Austin, Texas. Again, too hot to film outside, unfortunately. Actionability gaps occur when there's a lack of empathy for the way designers, engineers, copywriters, etc. work and conceptualize. In order for them to iterate and improve concepts, they need to know what attribute to change and the direction of change. Ultimately, concepts and prototypes are just tools for learning what to iterate. So approaches designed to make a go or no-go decision on a concept or prototype as a whole discard a lot of value. These types of approaches don't get at specific attributes. In reality, there are some attributes that are likely working to some degree and some that are not. In synthesis, most good researchers are going to parse feedback out into concept attributes that respondents identified and provided feedback on. For instance, things they like, dislike, and why. This approach depends on the respondent to identify these attributes, presenting a couple of efficacy and actionability risks. A, you get at attributes that are most evident to them, but not necessarily most salient to them. And B, when synthesizing across multiple respondents, it's a mixed bag of attributes and feedback, making it difficult to build qualitative confidence around what attributes to change and how to change them. And finally, traditional evaluative research outputs aren't natural plugins into individual or team-based generative exercises. This typically leads to teams making interpretations about what to do next, or research outputs getting distilled down into explicit direction, which, as we know, constrains creative problem solving. So how can we make evaluative research much more effective and actionable? Well, it starts with a human-centered mindset. The functions you support are your research users. You need to fit your outputs into their workflows. Tactically, there are 4 things that we can do in our approach to make this happen. Before fielding, work with designers, engineers, copywriters, whatever functions you support, and break the concept or prototype down into discrete attributes. A good rule of thumb for defining attributes is that they can be adjusted without blowing up the entire concept as a whole. This is going to allow you to evaluate and speak to each attribute later on. 2, when fielding, start by finding out which attributes are most important or salient to the end user or customer. Then you can get into typical likes and dislikes about each attribute, how those attributes compare to competition, etc. Taking this one step further, have the respondent walk through their ideal scenario and explain how the most salient attributes act as an enabler or barrier to their ultimate goal. And of course, understanding why an attribute is important and why it acts as a barrier or enabler to their objective provides the right type of insight for designers, engineers to iterate those attributes. Ultimately, you'll be able to speak to all the attributes, not just the ones initially recognized by the respondent. Which attributes are most important to achieve their goal, which attributes need improvements, which are good to go, and which aren't relevant at all. 3, present findings as a framework or artifact for iteration so that teams can go back and make individual improvements that collectively make the concept better. Study and work with them to define the output form factors that work best. And remember, not everyone's the same, so you might need a few different form factors. And 4, provide small learnings as you go that feed into and inform the design and refinement process. Don't wait until all the hay is in the barn. If you have a framework, you can slowly build it up with insight. Remember, the folks you support aren't waiting on insights to move forward with their work. Fortunately or unfortunately, these are the tasks modern innovation leaders need to take on in order to be successful. If you have any tips or tricks for making evaluative research more effective, more actionable, I'd love to hear them in the comments below.